A small portion of your income should go into retirement kitty from day one.
Is inflation really the biggest invisible enemy in retirement planning?
People understand inflation. That is the problem is they are not able to actually grasp that it can be so high. So it is financially independent, retire early. Fire. Living extremely frugally. They talk about saving something like 70% of their income. Okay, for a long period of time.
The whole interest rate scenario has also changed, and I think that also needs to be taken into account when you're planning your savings, your retirements, your life cover, everything.
I mean, we will have to actually draw that fine line between doing well today, spending for what you want to do in life today, and also saving for your tomorrow.
What does an ideal retirement plan actually look like?
So the lack of purpose actually is what they see in retirement. I mean, not really realizing that buying a pension plan alone is not going to ensure that your retirement is fine.
We also leave a certain part of our income for retirement, and we have to start early. One medical bill, can be really a multiple of your monthly expenses. It can be, as high as your annual expense, in fact.
The amount of money that you are able to save till 50 is the same or more in between 50 and 60. So one of the things to take care of this eventuality, is that life insurance.
The best time to plan to do your retirement investment, it was yesterday.
Correct.
And the second best time is probably today, but not later than today. Hi, and welcome to Depend on Insurance, Depend on Us. I am Jyoti Vaswani, Chief Investment Officer at Canara HSBC Life Insurance. Today's episode is all about retirement. Not just the financial preparation, but the emotional and practical rewiring that comes with it. When done right, retirement can be the most secure and purposeful chapter of your life. Joining me today is one of the most trusted names in financial advisory, Mr. Suresh Sadagopan, founder of Ladder7. Together, we'll break down how to retire with clarity, confidence, and a strong safety net. Welcome, Suresh.
Thank you.
Okay, let's kick off with this now. Why is retirement still such a delayed priority for most people? I mean, what's the change in mindset people have once they enter the 40s or the 50s, towards retirement, and they finally start thinking about retirement at that age? So what really is the change in the mindset that happens?
So there are a few things when we talk about retirement. So one of the things is when we talk about retirement, for most people it is lack of something worthwhile that they have always been doing. So the lack of purpose actually is what they see in retirement. They have been doing something all along, and suddenly they find that probably there is nothing that they need to do. So they find retirement to be a bad word for a lot of people. That is one. The second thing is during their earning years, especially at the younger ages, what happens is there are so many priorities, there are so many goals on which they spend a lot of time, effort and money, and they prioritize that over everything else. Retirement is far away. For a lot of people it is not even on their radar. So it is very far away. So they prioritize over retirement over a vacation. A lot of times, let us say a car, children's education, a home, all these things get priority. In fact, money which is supposed to be put aside for retirement, that is used up for other requirements. If it is something like a home, I can still say it's still okay. You are creating something worthwhile. A lot of times it is on comparatively frivolous pursuits like a birthday party or some family function and things like that. They spend a lot of money which should have actually gone for retirement. It is only in the later period when they enter the 40s, it starts coming back into the ken. It comes into the radar. And at that time they figure that, they have to do something. Retirement is something probably 15 years away. So they know that it is there. Then that is when they start looking at the area called retirement, and then they start frantically looking around for what they can do. So one of the typical things which people tend to do is they gravitate towards something which will show them that they have done something for their retirement, which is a pension plan. So they buy a pension plan, a lot of them, and they say, okay, fine, I have done my pension plan now, retirement should be okay. Not really realizing that buying a pension plan alone is not going to ensure that your retirement is fine. And a lot of people also tend to think that you have an employee provident fund and gratuity, and it has always been something which has helped people in retirement. So in my case, I bought a pension plan, I've done what I could in EPF, I have my gratuity and other retirement benefits, so it should be fine. So that is how people typically approach retirement. This is obviously not the ideal way to look at retirement, because in the case of retirement today, once upon a time it used to be 5, 10, 15 years. Today people are surviving for 25, 30, 35 years into retirement. So it's a long second innings. So we have to be really prepared for that second innings, which can be a very long period of time. And I think going forward we will talk about medical issues, we'll talk about inflation, we'll talk about a whole lot of things which people need to keep in mind while planning for retirement.
So basically you're saying with the average life expectancy of people now going up in India, and people are on an average living at least 75 to 85 years of age,
Yes.
it's very, very important that we prioritize not only the current consumption that we do and our current hobbies, etc., but we also leave a certain part of our income for retirement, and we have to start early. Probably the best time to start for retirements could be in the teens as well, because that's called early retirement planning.
Correct.
So you've often described retirement as a transition and not a full stop. So what should people emotionally prepare for, besides just the money? So one part is the money, but other than money, what do you think people should actually prepare for?
See, like you rightly pointed out, money is definitely one of the most important things. Like I said, 30, 35 years is not a short period of time. So one has to be prepared for living comfortably in that period without any money worries. So that is of course there. During the years when they are doing something to earn that money, so it is the career that actually takes center stage, and there is nothing wrong with that. But the problem is, a lot of people identify themselves with their careers and the position they hold and everything that goes along with the career. So that when they retire, they see a void. They see that the power which they wielded or the position that they wielded, everything is taken away, and there is just a void, and there is a bit of meaninglessness. So the purpose for which they have been existing for the past maybe 30, 35, 40 years, that is suddenly taken away, and there is a void. So one of the things which we need to really sensitize people, or they should realize on their own, is that of course life is multifaceted. So one of the things is of course the career, and there are other things which we will need to explore if we need to make the next innings really worthwhile, well lived, meaningful for us. So for somebody it can be a hobby, for somebody it can be certain very productive work which they want to do in the next phase of life. It can be something social which they want to do, it can be something spiritual which they want to pursue, it can be any of those things or a combination of those things. What I really find people saying is that because there is nothing else, they say I love traveling and I want to travel a lot. I have no problems with that. The only thing in that travel bit is that, I mean, you cannot travel for the entire year, right? I mean, you may travel for 15 days, 20 days, 40 days, 45 days. What will you do for the rest of the time? So you really need to figure out that particular aspect, and as you go along life, you have to start thinking about this, and you have to start bringing in those things which will add meaning to your life, apart from the one that is actually putting food on the table. So it's very, very important. You have to be cognizant of this. You have to prepare yourself emotionally. Nobody is going to come and coach you on that. So you have to understand what is that you are going to do with your 24 hours when you retire. So it's a mind shift which has to come in. And that will have to come in if you make a conscious effort.
So basically we are saying that retirement is a canvas. Your dreams are your painting. You have to now make a masterpiece out of it with proper retirement planning.
Correct.
That's what we are trying to convey here. So what are the 3 retirement planning mistakes that you see people repeatedly making?
See, one of the things I would say is that people don't consider retirement as a goal at all to start with. It is not there on the radar. So when people are there in the 20s, I mean, sometime back you said we should probably start doing that in the teens. While I would, as a financial advisor, I would absolutely love that. That does not seem to happen. So in the 20s, it is the go-go period of their life, so they are enjoying their life, which I am absolutely fine with. The only thing is, if you postpone your what you are saving for retirement to the 40s and 50s, uh, you will have to put a humongously large amount into the kitty for it to be a meaningful sum, and that is not always really possible. You have to give the power of compounding its time, and that is why you really have to start early. So one of the primary mistakes is not starting early enough, and people not understanding the power of compounding. The second thing is, and there are people who are putting aside money for retirement, but that is treated as a kind of basic kitty, a placeholder which can be taken at will for any other goal, and that happens a lot. If you are investing something and taking money out of that, that is one portion, that is a mistake by itself. But people also go into the other kitty which government very consciously has created for each person, which is the employee provident fund. People also take money from the provident fund. In fact, there was a statistic some maybe 4 or 5 years back which I saw, which said that the employee provident fund amount which people have at retirement is less than 20,000 in 80% of the cases. Which is a very surprising statistic. It only means that people have been just dipping into that for every small thing, and there are 7 or 8 things for which you can actually dip into that, like one's own marriage, children's education, buying a house, buying a motor car, and so on and so forth. So if you are going to depend on your EPF, then you cannot really depend on your EPF for your retirement. And starting very late, that is the third mistake. Starting very late is very difficult for you to actually build that kitty, and then you come up short, and then you start blaming everybody but yourself. So these are the typical mistakes. And if I were to add to that, the one which I talked earlier, people not figuring out that career is not everything. You as a person, you have a life, and career is just one small facet of your personality. For a lot of people, that is their personality, and that's a problem. So you have to do a bit more of self-exploration to understand what is that you really want. You have to find that purpose. The purpose is not working. Working is a means to an end. It's not the end by itself. So those are the things.
Absolutely, and I think that mindset we are seeing changing in the new generation a little bit, that they are focusing on both their careers as well as their personal life, and that's become very important. So the point that you're making here today is actually that the best time to plan to do your retirement investment, it was yesterday.
Correct.
And the second best time is probably today, but not later than today.
True.
So I think that's the message that we are largely trying to give over here.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about structure, and what does an ideal retirement plan actually look like?
What I would say, let me start with the early ages. At the early ages, I would say, live your life. I don't have any problem on that. But I would say that a small portion of your income should go into retirement kitty from day one. So it can be as low as just 5% of your income, and maybe later on it can go to 10%, because you are also going to save for other goals. So if you are doing anywhere between 5 to 10% to start with, I think you are doing good. So there are several ways of investing. One of the ways is, of course, the typical mutual fund, those kind of routes. Of course, Government of India has also come up with its own things. You can do public provident fund, you can do NPS and things like that, and there are several private vehicles also which are available. So irrespective of what you want to choose, you have to really start putting that 5 to 10% from day one from the retirement point of view. So going forward, the first thing that I would say that people should not do is to dip into that kitty. I'm again and again talking about that because this is a mistake. As a practitioner, I have seen again and again and again. Retirement is seen as, okay, I see there is some spare money lying around here. So let me put my hand into this cookie jar, and let me take this and use it for something else. So that's a problem that we have seen. As we go along, the income increases. While the income increases, lifestyle goes up, which is absolutely fine. But we have to consciously make a choice to also put aside some more money for retirement and for the other goals. And I'll go back to the first one. The retirement kitty will keep building up. You should not really I mean, you have to resist the temptation of actually
Dipping into it.
dipping into that. And going forward, at some point in time, you have to understand whether you are in the right course. Ideally, earlier the better. If you are not sure, a lot of people tend to think that, okay, fine, I am doing my best. And a lot of people have actually told me this. I am doing my best. What else can be done over and above this? I have a family. I have my aspirations and goals. What more can I do? So that is a very simplistic way of thinking about retirement. So you have to probably, if you don't know how to do it, today I think there are a lot of online calculators also. If you want to do that, you will get a reasonably good sense. If you want to really understand in your situation what you need to do, there are financial advisors like us, there are many of them. So they will be able to really help you in your situation, in your family, because the expenses can be quite different, aspirations can be quite different, goals can be different, everything can be different. So in your case, are you in the right direction? Are you saving enough? Is your asset mix right? And is it positioning you for the retirement years? So those are the things that one will need to do.
Absolutely. And so, how do you really help someone separate needs from lifestyle wants, when they're building their retirement corpus? How would you really do that?
Yeah, I mean, Jyoti, I've touched upon a very, very important thing. A lot of people tend to say that everything is a need. So, so they say this luxury car is a need. I mean, this is something that everybody does. 4 BHK is a need. Everything is a need. So, I mean, that's a problem. So, while we financial planners do not step on the toes of clients and say how to live their life, that is their prerogative. But the only thing which we really are conscious of and we want them to understand is that if you are going to say everything is a need, then you better earn 4 times of what you are currently earning, or you be prepared to work well beyond 60, so 60, 65. So once we start putting that in perspective in front of them, then they start understanding, and then they start slightly, coming down to the ground. So that's typically a problem. So it is not for us to say what is a need or a want. So what we do is we ask them to list down the goals, and we ask them what is the priority that you assign to each of that. And sometimes what happens is, when there are so many priorities, and sometimes it may not work, all of them may not work. Each one of them may be a very big goal. Like for example, people want to send their children abroad for education. So now that's a very, very costly one. So if you have to send your child abroad today, maybe 50, 60 lakhs per year. And if you have 2 children, then it doubles, right? And 4 years or 2 years or whatever you want to do, it's hugely expensive. And if you actually ask me about the ROI, it's not really there, if you ask me. So coming back, it is for the client. So we really have that conversation with the client. Now you find out what is really important for you, and let us work on that. And there are going to be certain other things which in your current scheme of things, with your current level of earnings, with your current lifestyle, we may not be able to achieve. Future, of course, we don't know what the future holds. Things can turn out very rosy for you, and maybe a few more goals can be achieved. But now firstly we have to prioritize, and we have to figure out which goals are super important and which goals we need to focus on. And there are going to be certain goals which are going to be high priority today, but after we talk, it will be medium to low priority. Like for example, you want a luxury car costing 70, 80 lakhs. That may become a low priority because your high priority is your house. You wanted a house. So now you prioritize over that. So that is a conversation which we have with the clients. We cannot decide for the clients. The clients will have to understand. So it's a kind of a negotiation that we do.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. So it's like when our forefathers told us jitni chadar utne pav phailao types, So we probably have come from that generation where we have, after earning we have spent.
Correct.
But that mindset has completely changed now, and people also do leverage consumption. People also do, a lot of things which is very different from maybe the earlier generations, which is a good thing to do in a way that you want to live your life fully, because that's the age to live. But the important point here is that, that should not be at the cost of retirement planning. That should not be at the cost of financial savings, and that
Absolutely.
should not. Those are a given, and after that you need to do everything else. I think
Correct.
that comes first. So the prioritization that you talked about, I think it's absolutely essential for any generation that is there.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Absolutely.
fantastic. Okay, also tell me, is inflation really the biggest invisible enemy in retirement planning?
Yeah, inflation is a monster which people tend to not see. I mean, everybody knows. Any educated person knows that there is inflation. What was costing, let us say, 10 rupees. Today, after 4 years, I am paying say 15, 16 rupees. I mean, people know that. But when they are planning for their future retirement, they are not able to envisage that. Today, I am spending 70,000. They are not able to see that in 30 years, that 70,000 will be 4.5 lakhs or 5 lakhs. That they are not able to see. But when we do the simple math, it shows up like that. It very clearly shows up like that 5-6 times. So this is another thing that is a problem. Okay, people don't realize that. The other thing which we typically see with people is that they say, I mean, you financial planners always keep on talking about this is not enough, that is not enough, save more, save. I mean, so I have one life and I need to live today. And if I keep on saving more and more and more for a future, for I mean, some future after 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, what will I do today? I mean, we will have to actually draw that fine line between doing well today, spending for what you want to do in life today, and also saving for your tomorrow. So, coming back to your question, inflation is something that is not, it is understood, but at the same time, the effect of inflation is not really fully, people are not fully cognizant of that, and they act in all those ways because of that. They'll say, and the last thing I've heard people actually say is that my father did not do any financial planning, but he got by. I mean, there was no problem. So why you as a financial planner, you are scaring me so much?
So basically, we are saying inflation is the inverse of compounding. While your returns compound, your inflation also increases your cost in that a similar way. I think that's the best way to kind of explain, because most people now understand the power of compounding. Yeah. So that works for
people
inflation.
Understand inflation. That is the problem is they are not able to actually grasp that it can be so high. So that's the problem.
Mm-hmm. So tell me, do you really think people shortchange the cost of retirement?
Probably they do. Many of them really underestimate. When I say that you require a corpus of say 7 crores or 6 crores or things like that, they give me a look that are you out of your mind? Yeah, I mean, what are you talking? Where am I going to get that 6 crores or 8 crores you are talking about? So they have a much lower figure because they know all their expenses, they know all their aspirations, they know that if they are going to do all that, they may not hit that figure. So they have that thought that what is this guy talking? So they tend to underestimate how much you require in retirement. They don't have any calculation, huh? But they figure that okay, fine. I mean, all of us are doing what we can, and today we are comfortable. This is a big problem with people. Okay, where when you have an income coming in, at that time you are really comfortable. Okay, a lot of money is coming in, you are spending a lot, still money stays in the bank, there is some money in the bank, you're quite happy with that, and you are not able to envisage a situation where the income stops and after that you have to live on that. You know that, but you are not able to really, put a finger on that. And when they come closer to that point, that is when they start panicking. 2 years before retirement, 3 years before retirement, 1 year before retirement, they start really panicking. Boss, what will I do? So that kind of a thing.
Let's just do a what if scenario, a quick what if scenario to see, let's just tackle some real life concerns, let's just try and do that. So what if I'm 55 and I have very little saved, I've saved very little for my retirement, what do you do then?
See, we face those kind of situations also from time to time. There are a few things which we can do. I don't know in this hypothetical question how it is, but I'll tell you real life situations. Typically what happens is people have a home, their own home. Typically, people have certain retirals which are going to come after say 3, 4, 5 years. So that is there. It may not be enough, but it is there. One of the things which we suggest to such people is that is it possible in your situation, can you work for a few more years? Is it possible? And that is possible especially if they are professionals. Okay, if you are a CA, a financial advisor can work for a long period of time, a doctor, an architect, a lawyer. So if you are in one of those professions, possibly you can work for a much longer period. and that gives a cushion. If somebody is in a typical corporate service, then is it really possible for them to continue working as a consultant for some more time? So that's a possibility. Is it possible that they can leverage their existing abilities and skills and talent in some other corporate setup, probably after they superannuate? So that is something that they can look. So these are from the income side. See, in some cases it may not be possible, in some cases it may also not be possible because of health reasons or other reasons. So in those kind of situations, we again have to be realistic about what we can do. One of the things which we can do, especially for people in tier 1 cities or metros, and if they have invested in a property, it is their own property, you will get a maybe 2, 3, 4 crores out of that property. One of the things which we also suggest is that, can you look at relocating yourself into, say, some other tier 3, tier 4 city, good city but not so expensive. Real estate can actually unlock so much of wealth for you, and you maybe invest maybe 30-40% of that in a decent comfortable house in that place. Balance money is unlocked for you, and you can live a comfortable kind of retirement. So this is something that we do suggest. And in some extreme situations, I mean, if there is nothing else anybody can do, then of course if they have children, that is also something that they can possibly depend on. I mean, these are the few things which one can do if they have not really planned well. Is there anything else apart from that? I can't think of anything apart from this. So these are only 2-3 things.
Sure. So the moral of the
one
story
more thing. Sorry, one more thing one can do is people can get slightly more real about the amount of money that they are spending. So you have lived up your life till 55. Can you rationalize your spending a bit, and can you make your money extend for a longer period of time? Can you do that? One of the things which people ask us to do, which we don't want to do, is to invest in risky assets. That is not something that one should do, because you are asking me to invest in risky assets because you don't have enough corpus. And the flip side is, if it is a risky asset, the positive side is also there, the negative side is also there. So we ask people to avoid this particular strategy, and the risk has to be contained, because capital protection, capital preservation is very, very important in a retirement phase. So these are the 4 or 5 things which we can do.
So the moral of the story still remains start early, because I think it's very, very important. Once you cross an age of 55, your options are very, very limited. So I think that keeps coming out in our conversation.
Correct. Start early and don't touch your PF.
Yeah.
Employee Provident Fund, don't touch. If you have contributed to NPS, don't touch. Gratuity, of course, it will come. If you have contributed to PPF, don't touch that. So these are the things which can really help you.
True. So, what if I outlive my retirement corpus?
Difficult question to answer. Again, many of the same things which I have mentioned, some of them can work here. You have to first understand that you may outlive your retirement corpus. So one of the final things which people can do is look at their expenses and relocate to a cheaper place. So those are the only 2 things they can do at that point in their life. Okay, and if there are children who can, or any other source, any other relative or anybody who can take care of them, then that's a happy situation. But short of that, you will have to focus on expenses and probably relocating to a comparatively inexpensive place. So those are the only things which we can suggest. In extreme cases, we have also suggested one more thing, where you sell the house, don't buy another house, you stay on rent. So if you really look at the tier 3, tier 4 towns and cities, the rentals are very low. And in that situation, if you are comfortable, mentally if you are comfortable, emotionally you are okay to live in a rented house, that is also another possibility. In the extreme case I am saying, having a house in the later part of your life is always a good idea. It gives that emotional anchoring. But if nothing works, then this is also one of the last resort things which somebody can think of.
And take good care of your health so that your medical expenses are on the lower side.
Absolutely.
I think that would be another thing which
good
at
point.
least that should also be taken care of.
Yeah.
What if my spouse depends entirely on me and my savings and I pass away?
So one of the things to take care of this eventuality, is that life insurance. Okay. And life insurance, to give context, is basically to take care of the any financial corpus which somebody can accumulate during the working lifetime. And if they pass away in between, the family savings and investments are interrupted, and whatever goals or aspirations they have, they may not be able to achieve that. So that is why we need to properly assess that, and to protect the working lifetime, whatever is going to come, because the person is going to work till 58 or 60. So the typical life insurance suggested by us is to protect the working lifetime. After that also, I mean, some people do have, it is their call. But from a financial standpoint, financial planning standpoint, you definitely need to have life insurance up to your working age. And if you are a lawyer, probably till 70, 65, 70, because you are going to continue to do that. So that is something that one can assess. So that is definitely a security net that one can have. The other security net, which is also equally important, will be medical insurance. Life insurance is something that probably can be triggered maybe once in a lifetime, if at all. Whereas medical insurance is something that gets triggered multiple times during one's lifetime.
Absolutely.
And medical insurance is, medical costs today are also such that it can actually deplete your savings in a major way. And looking at it from that standpoint, medical insurance is also absolutely essential, along with an appropriate amount of life insurance. We normally suggest term insurance because it's a very low cost way of protecting your family. So it's absolutely important, and even in your retirement years, you have to definitely have that medical insurance. I would say medical insurance is priority number one, closely followed by life insurance. That is how I'll put it.
And I think one key differential between earlier and now is interest rates. So earlier, when you had even life insurance cover and you invested that in an FD which gave you a 9-10% interest, you were still better off. Now with interest rates coming down and sub 7%, maybe going ahead it'll be even lower. The earning is not the same, and probably net of inflation you're not really earning anything on that money. So that increases the requirement of having a higher cover because of the lower interest rates that era that we have moved into as compared to earlier. So I remember when I first invested my dad's retirement money, it was over 15% interest rate, and those are interest rates which you can't even think exist today anywhere. So the whole interest rate scenario has also changed, and I think that also needs to be taken into account when you're planning your savings, your retirements, your life cover, everything.
Absolutely.
So what if I want to retire early but still have EMIs to finish?
If you want to retire early, I mean, you certainly cannot have EMIs and you retire. I mean, it's not possible that way. It is not suggested. There are people who have retired, whom I know, and who are continuing to pay their EMIs after they have retired. But that is not how it should be. So assess how much is the payment that you have to pay upfront and finish off that loan. And if everything is going to work, then only you should retire. I mean, I'm talking about a voluntary retirement situation. If you are superannuating and you have no other choice, then that's a different matter. Whatever amount you are going to get as a retirement benefits, you will have to settle whatever is the remaining loan from that, and then you will have to make do with whatever you have in terms of setting up your retirement income. So you will have to do that. So having any kind of loan in retirement or trying to take a loan in retirement is not the ideal thing.
And ideally, your retirement planning should take into account any EMIs you might have to continue to pay after retirement as well. So,
I would go the other way. In fact, when we do the planning, we ideally do not want to have any EMIs in their 50s itself. I mean, all your EMIs, whatever you want to do,
ideally
you should
get
do
paid off
before 50. I mean, your house and things like that. I am talking about an ideal scenario. Okay, let me put it this way. If you really want to have an EMI, let that be only the home EMI. Let it not be a car EMI. If you can't afford a car and you want to take it on a loan in your 50s, and I would say that even for the 40s, if you can't afford a car, I mean, why are you buying that car? I mean, car is not a house. I mean, a house can cost maybe several crores. So that's very, very difficult for somebody to afford without actually going for a loan. That cannot be said about a car. If you really cannot afford whatever type of car by paying upfront, then probably you should desist from that.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. Thank you so much, Suresh, for sharing your valuable insights on retirement planning. We hope, we actually believe our investors would have gained some actionable strategies to ensure their future is financially secure. Remember, it's never too early nor too late to start planning for retirement. Begin today and secure the peace of mind you deserve. This is Depend on Insurance, Depend on Us. So until next time.
Canara HSBC Life Insurance. Promises का partner.